When I asked stroke survivors, does ego interfere with your recovery? And if so, how do you manage it? Their responses were powerful, honest, and deeply insightful. This simple question opened up a flood of raw emotions and personal stories from stroke survivors who have wrestled with the role of ego in their healing journeys. For some, it has been a constant struggle. For others, it has shaped the way they approach their recovery. Through their responses, a common theme emerged: finding balance between pride and humility, and learning how to let go of past identities to focus on the present. One stroke survivor shared, "Oh my goodness, yes, totally. Being used to performing at such a high level and coming from a family that values pride, I feel like I still have so much to learn about letting go of the things I can't control. But it's so hard sometimes. Despite this, they stay grounded by focusing on gratitude. I keep thinking, I'm so grateful to be alive, and that's all that matters." This mindset shift helps ease the burden of ego and keeps the focus on what truly counts: surviving and thriving. Another survivor who was once very athletic expressed how ego played a major role early on in their recovery. They said, "I thought because I was in such excellent shape, my recovery would be faster. But it's been a hard pill to swallow. But I've learnt patience, empathy, and grace for my body. Learning to let go of old expectations and accepting the reality of their new capabilities has been crucial for their mental and emotional well-being." For some, ego presented itself in the desire to return to their pre-stroke lives as quickly as possible. One survivor remarked, "I just want to be my old self, to walk without my walker, to jump out of bed and gulp my Diet Coke. Alas, that leads to falling and choking, reminding me of the day my life changed." In these moments, they are reminded of the need to set new boundaries and redefine what success looks like post stroke. As another survivor put it, "It's humbling, but I've learned to be grateful for the small wins, even if they come slower than expected." Gratitude emerges as a key theme for many stroke survivors when it comes to managing ego. One survivor shared that, "When I focus on gratitude, it seems to squash the ego. Hey, I'm alive, and that's all that matters." Another echoed this sentiment, stating, "Gratitude is such a game changer for me too. By focusing on what they've gained rather than what they've lost, survivors are able to move forward with more positive outlook." But ego isn't always a negative force. One survivor shared how their pride pushed them to try harder, even when it was difficult to ask for help. "For me, ego definitely does get in the way. I'm too proud to ask for help, but also it pushes me to try harder," they said. This delicate balance between pride and humility is something many survivors struggle with, but it can also serve as a motivator to keep pushing forward in their recovery journey. Another survivor reflected on how ego manifested as guilt and sadness. They said, "I was the person everyone leaned on before my stroke, and I felt guilty and sadness initially. It wasn't so much ego, but rather the label I had placed on myself over the years. The stroke changed me so much that I couldn't be the person anymore. But I've learned to set boundaries, and I'm also better at asking for help." This shift in mindset has been essential for their emotional healing, allowing them to redefine their role and their values in new ways. Perhaps one of the most powerful lessons shared comes from a survivor's husband who has done significant personal growth before his stroke. His wife shared, "He was an influential and powerful man, physically very capable, but I was so awed by his willingness to let go of how others saw him. He said it was an energy drain to do anything but be with what was and feel how he felt. This approach allowed him to connect with his true self, the part of him that remained unchanged by the stroke. His ability to embrace the changes in his form and image became the key to his recovery. This approach allowed him to connect with his true self, the part of him that remained unchanged by the stroke. His ability to embrace the changes in his form and image became the key to his recovery. In the end, managing ego in stroke recovery is not about erasing pride or ambition, but rather about finding a balance. As one survivor eloquently put it, there always needs to be a sense of self, but it shouldn't tilt you off balance. You shouldn't think poorly of yourself or think you are more than others. That balance is key. For those still wrestling with their ego during recovery, remember this. You don't control what happens to you, but you do control how you respond. Focusing on gratitude, accepting your new reality, and setting boundaries are powerful tools in managing ego. At the same time, don't be afraid to let your pride drive you to work harder. Just remember to celebrate the small wins and practice gratitude along the way. If these episodes have helped you or a loved one in any way, please consider supporting the show through Patreon at patreon.com/recoveryafterstroke. Your support keeps the podcast going and allows me to continue sharing these valuable stories from stroke survivors and their families. Every contribution helps us bring you more inspiring stories, helpful insights, and essential resources to those on their recovery journey. Thank you for being a part of our community and for helping me make these conversations possible. Thank you for tuning in. If this resonated with you, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. You're not alone in this journey, and together we can continue to grow, heal, and find meaning in life after stroke. Stay strong and remember, you've got this.